that I'm just going to ask everyone to mute if you're not muted. And then at the end of class, we can unmute and have questions to talk about especially the fascia, okay, and help you understand what we're doing here. And I want to first cover the Zoom basics really quickly. So for those of you who are new to Zoom, you have your own little window. And if you go to your window, there's 3 dots. And from there, if you click the upper right corner, you can get the 3 dots where you can pin my view. You can pin my video for when we're doing the exercises. You can mute and unmute. And then you can change the view up in the top right corner of your window, of the Zoom window. You can change the view so you can see everyone, you can see different layouts. And then finally, at the bottom of the screen, if you go about halfway, just to the right, you'll see reactions. And there's a place where you can raise your hand to ask a question. We don't use that so much, but if you want to. Okay. So that's the very quick Zoom info. And I'm just so excited. Like, I'm so excited to begin this program with you. We have some people who've done it, so they've already had some of the experiences. And it's just really a journey, right? And
our house is so cold.
Oops. So if anyone is unmuted, I'm going to ask you to mute. I'll go through just so we don't have feedback. Okay, there we go. All right, that should be good. And then when we actually do our sessions, our movement sessions, we have these few moments before class where people chat and get to know each other, which is wonderful. And then afterwards, we ask questions as well. But the same idea that during the call, I ask that you mute yourself just so that there's not feedback for the microphone for the recording. Okay. And for those of you who don't know me very well, a lot of you are part of my community online. You've been on my newsletter, but some of you came through social media. And so I just want to tell you a brief about myself. So I'm 52 and I've been plant-based for over 25 years. And I discovered this movement about a year ago. I've always been someone that enjoys exercising and, you know, some kind of movement in my life, but I'm not that one to like go slug it out at the gym for an hour. That's not me. Like, when I say movement, I like 15 to 20 minutes in the morning and then enjoy my day and maybe take a walk, that kind of thing. But I was noticing that in my 40s, all of these pains crept up. And I thought, okay, perhaps it's inflammation from, you know, whatever, whatever. I was already eating a pretty good diet, so I didn't understand why I was having inflammation. So I did do some food testing, and I did find out that I was reacting to some foods I was eating, corn, peas, pea protein, which is in a lot of vegan products. But even when I removed that and the level of inflammation went down in my body, there were still pain points. And things like turmeric supplements didn't do anything for me. You know, I was just kind of baffled because I thought I was doing everything right. And then I would start doing chiropractic. Well, I was always doing chiropractic, but I was doing chiropractic maybe every 2 weeks. She'd do this laser gun on my shoulder and my elbow. I was doing prolotherapy where they inject solution into the pain points, and it's wonderful. I love it. But I was going every month because it worked for a few weeks and then it would come back. And I remember my chiropractor saying, like, how long do you feel the effects of the adjustment and feel good? And I'm like, oh, a few days. And then I'm right back where I started. And she said, we need to find a way to make it last longer. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And then I came across this movement, this thing it's called online resistance stretching, but I like to call it fascia stretching because we're not actually stretching in a traditional way. And when I discovered this, and at first I tried it and I was kind of confused. It was very strange movement, didn't understand what we were doing. And then I sort of drifted away from it. And then I came back to it. And I started doing it a little bit every day. And then one day I went, oh, I can turn my head and there's no like restriction in my neck now. And I really noticed the front of my shoulder had changed, which I was doing a lot of prolotherapy in here. And had all this new range of motion like I had in my 30s, right? And so I just immersed myself. I knew this was making a change, and I went for training in Boston, and then I've done more training online since, and I started teaching it, and it's very effective, right? So at first it may feel, and I'm going to talk about the fascia last here because I want to go through the components of our program that are sort of more known to begin with, and then really dig into the fascia. So I just want to say from this point, it's very effective. And it does require work on your part. You do have to do the practice. It's not going to happen unless you do it. But most of us are probably here over 40 because we're having stiffness, pains, and we want to deal with it, right? So this club combines the movement of the fascia with a couple of other components. So you will have received the ebook of recipes. I have, if you don't have it, email me, or if you're in the Facebook group, just mention the Facebook group and I will send it out again to you. I have also modified it to remove the photos so that if you want to print it off, you're not printing off all your colored cartridge on your printer. So you'll have received this, it's not a very fancy ebook, but it's an ebook all the same of spring recipes. So what I've done is I've curated a lot of my recipes from my books and some that you probably haven't seen from some of my other books, the diabetes cookbook that I did with Dr. Bernard and the cheese trap. And in this work that we're doing with the fascia, we'll talk about this in a minute, it aligns with principles of Chinese medicine. So very coincidentally, as I found this program, I was already learning Chinese medicine for yin yoga because I'm also a yin yoga teacher. So I had already been in this program learning about Chinese medicine and then found this fascial work, which the stretching, the movements that we do connect with meridian lines in the body. So we'll talk about that when we move into yin yoga here. But just to say the recipes that I've curated here for spring, they focus on foods and they're not all completely, every single ingredient that I've listed here, but they incorporate those foods that are really good to eat in spring. So in Chinese medicine, there's a flow of energy. Okay, so in the fall and winter, the energy is descending. It's said to go down. We see that in nature, right? We see like the decline and fall. The trees are losing their leaves. Everything's going back down into the earth. And then in the winter, everything's cold and dark. It's the most yin season where the energy's downwards. And we're meant to also go downwards and settle and rest and have more inward time. And then in the spring, the energy starts to rise again. So it's more yang. And so we have this rising energy in spring, and then it peaks in summer. That's the most yang season, which we see, right? We see the aliveness of summer, and everything is abundant in produce. Everything is alive and moving, and we can get depleted in the summer because there's so much of that energy. So in spring, with things rising, there's an inclination inside for us to also, you may be noticing that yourself, like you feel this uptick in energy and you want to do a little more. You want to clean your house, perhaps gut out cupboards and just, start walking. And similarly, nature is moving up, right? So we're seeing more produce come out, and there's excuse me, a benefit to including more greens, especially in your diet this time of year. So I have a lot of recipes in here that are greens focused, using greens in different ways. One of my favorite ways is to, excuse me, add a little bit of greens, not a little, a lot, at the end of cooking a pasta or a soup. Just throw it on in there and it will wilt down just enough. and you can, eat it right away without overcooking it. So these recipes include vegetables that, excuse me, it says include but not limited to, right? So I've included some of the recipes that are ingredients that you might see most often and some more obscure ones, but really to have a focus on leafy greens. And that's not just, leafy greens like lettuces, spinach, kale, chard, but also leafy green herbs, cilantro, parsley, those types of things. And then also I've included the fruits and seeds and seasonings, grains, beans, and spices. And it's also very helpful, as I mentioned in the intro to the recipes, to include some lemon water in your day. In the morning, drink some warm or slightly hot water. Especially in the spring, it helps to clear out what's called like a stickiness in the body. Hot water in the morning, some peppermint tea in the day, some ginger, just to kind of help cleanse and there's a leftover energy in winter, and it kind of feels stuck in spring. So we try to move that and move it out of the diet. So those recipes are there for you. And that doesn't mean you have to make all of them or any of them even, but I wanted to give you those options, right, to be able to include very nutrient dense recipes. Maybe even if you do one every week or every couple of days, you can batch cook. Like there's a spring quinoa salad. You make a big batch of that, have it on hand in the fridge for a couple of days, that kind of thing. And having these nutrient dense recipes really helps with the fascial work, because with this work of shredding out this old dense fascia in our bodies need to move it out of the system. Okay. It's like a detox in a sense, right? And when we do that, we get it out through our sweat, we get it out through our feces and urine and through the lymph system. So having foods that help to nourish the body and help move this stuff out of your system will aid you greatly. So even when I was doing the training, they talked very much about organic foods and the really good quality water, because these things help your cells, right, recover and nourish and move into a better place. Okay, so that's component one, is the recipes, and you should all have those. And if you don't, just let me know, and I'll get the ebook out to you again. And in the Facebook group, I'll post the file for the recipes without the photos for those of you that want to print that off, and I can also email that to you. Okay, so if you have any questions about that, I'll answer questions at the end of this session, but you can just add them to the chat. And then the second component of our classes is yin yoga. So we won't be doing these every week, but rather once a month. And I can maybe change the times of when we do that. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Meaning right now we have fascial work every Thursday and a yin yoga class on the Saturday. And I thought, well, maybe for people who are working during the week, they might prefer to have a fascial class on Saturday so they can have the live interaction. So maybe I'll switch that around if people want to move that slightly, and I'll do one of the yin classes on a Thursday. Yes. Julie, I will. I'm seeing some chats come in, so I will do that before we hop off today, the Facebook group. So the yin yoga is maybe like a hands up if you've done yin yoga or you're familiar with it. It's not the yoga that we see in books. Yeah, a lot of you have done yin yoga, right? It's become more popular in the past 10 years for sure, definitely the last 5 years. And so I, learned yoga first, how most of us see yoga, which is flow or hatha yoga, which is very active, and it works our muscles and our blood flow. And those are yang tissues in the body. So again, that very energetic force in the body of movement and being up. And that's what I learned. And first was, found a love for with yoga. But again, in my 40s, I was like, I can't do these positions without pain now. right? I was finding that I call it chaturanga. Chaturanga is chaturangry for me because it would really make my shoulders and wrists and elbows so sore. So I stopped doing those things, and I'd be in class and all I was doing was modifying, doing different things all the time. And then I found yin yoga, and yin yoga helps us access the yin tissues of the body. So not the muscles and the blood flows so much, but the ligaments and the joints and these deeper connective tissues, which when we can access those, we promote healing in those areas. So in yin yoga, we're not moving a lot. We're holding static poses for anywhere between 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes up to 4 or 5 minutes. So we may hold a shape like a forward fold, sitting down, hanging over, but at a very soft edge so that the muscles don't engage, they relax, and then we can tap into these connective tissues. So this is really a big component to sort of rest and digest the work that we're doing in the fascial exercises, because that is very young, and it's very nice to then give your body this component of settling, okay, at least once a month, but I'll have recordings so you can take them in more than that. And I do weekly classes at my studio, so I'll also add some of those to our playlist so that you can take in more yin yoga, maybe do another one during the week. A lot of people find it very nourishing and good for nighttime, like before you go to sleep. Doing a yin yoga class can really help you tap into that parasympathetic nervous system, which allows you to settle down, right? And the yin tissues in our body comprise almost 50% of our tissues. And yet in our culture, we're so focused on the go and the push and the muscles, right? And like pumping up and looking good, which is fine too. But we also can respect this other side, which especially again, as we're getting older, will really help those areas of our body that speak to us, because when we feel pain, we feel it in our joints, right? That's where we're feeling it. So that's the yin yoga component, and that will be like once a week and also, or sorry, once a month, and also like about a 45-minute class. And then I'll have all of the videos uploaded to the playlist, and I'll add some extra yin yoga for everyone. And so for yin yoga, you need a mat, and usually blocks are very helpful. And then if you don't have blocks, you can use cushions or even stacks of books. You just want something to help bring the floor up to you in certain poses. So for instance, if we're in a butterfly pose with the knees open, having something propped under the knees so that you're not muscling in the pose, because as soon as the muscles are activated, we're not getting into the yin quality of the pose. Okay, so you don't have to go out and buy special things. Usually just, we did all these classes online during the pandemic, and of course, nobody had these things. So we were using cushions and rolls of paper towels and things like that. Anything we could pull from our, home to use for support. So that's the yin yoga. And again, I'll answer questions on that if you want after. And I highly encourage, even if you feel like you're not a yoga person and you don't like yoga, to try yin yoga, because it is very different and it's very relaxing as well. Okay, so now we're going to get into the sort of the, I don't want to say meat of things. I might need a new word. I'm going to get into the sweet potatoes of things, the heft of things, the fascial work, okay? And this is the biggest component of what we're going to be doing, and will probably feel the most foreign for most of us. So I mentioned that fascia, what we're doing is more so fascia stretching than, I use the term stretching a lot in the class, but it's really stretching the fascia. So first, I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with the term fascia. Like, do you know what fascia is? Maybe just in the chat, if you can give me a sense of, have you heard the term fascia? Do you know what it is? And to go to the chat, there's a little box on the bottom of your screen about midway through. There's a thing that says chat. Yeah, connective tissue. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good, good. Okay. Yeah, only heard about it recently. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, so it's become a bit more of a buzzword, right? The medical community is, oh, new to you? Okay, good. So I will cover it. Yeah, perfect. It's become a lot more known in the last few years as the medical community, especially, they're seeing that fascia plays a big role in our health, right? So it used to be seen as this unimportant layer almost, and it can be considered like a sheath of connective tissue. If we did not have fascia, we wouldn't have our form. It literally is the form of our body. It's like a webbing that is encasing everything in our bodies. It's a 3D kind of matrix. It slides and moves and glides and should be very pliable, very hydrated, very flexible. If we took all the bones and muscles out of our body, we'd still have the shape from the fascia. So here's a definition of fascia for you. The fascial system surrounds, interweaves between, and interpenetrates all organs, muscles, bones, and nerve fibers, endowing the body with a functional structure and providing an environment that enables all body systems to operate in an integrated manner. So fascia literally is everywhere in our bodies, everywhere, connects to everything, and everything connects and communicates through it. So all of our cellular function or nerve function, it communicates through the fascia. So when the fascia is not healthy, which it's not in most of us, because we don't know how to make it healthy, right? And we can, but most of us have not heard of this. We don't know. And so for the large majority of people, it's not healthy. And what happens is not only does the functioning of the inner world of our body not work so well, the messaging, it becomes very dry and stuck. So I want to give the analogy of an orange, or those little, I've mentioned this to the group before, those little mandarin oranges. And you know how you get some that are really very easy to peel. You can pop your finger in the center, peel it away, and you have this juicy mandarin, and it's wonderful. And then they're on your counter for a few days, and you try to peel one, and it's gotten dehydrated. And you try to get in to peel it, and you can barely pull that skin away, and the juice starts going everywhere, and everything's kind of stuck. So that's very much like unhealthy fascia and healthy fascia. And when you see those orange segments, like when you open an orange and you see the encasing of all those juicy bits inside, that is actually like fascia in our muscles. Fascia goes into the muscles, into the nerves. It penetrates everything. So one of the analogies my trainers gave us, it's like a soup stock. And when you cook soup, all of the flavor goes into your vegetables, right? It's much like that. It gets into everything, into the joint capsules. So when it's not healthy, it restricts our movement. And we're meant to be able to move freely in the joints. But if the fascia is holding things back, if the muscles aren't working because the fascia is so dense, it's restricting the movement of the muscles, we still move. So I was still moving, but the muscle wasn't working well. So the joint overworks, and then we start to feel pain. When we can get the fascia hydrated and healthy again through this movement, then things start to free up. So what happens with this stretching, the muscles move, like sort of this weaving motion. And when we do this work, and I'm going to explain next how we do it, it catches the fascia and it changes it. It's like an exfoliation of the fascia from the inside out. So again, you can kind of think of when you get a pedicure, right? And they're buffing away at your heels and it feels really good because they're getting rid of all that dry skin. That's kind of like what we're doing. We're not just moisturizing the heels, we're buffing away at this dense, dry stuff that is really making our lives difficult, because fascia should be making our bodies work well. That's its purpose, right? It should be very healthy and functional, but it becomes dysfunctional. And that's through age, just our repetitive movements through age. If we've had trauma to an area, an injury, and also emotional traumas, we hold a lot of traumas in our tissues. So all of those things can contribute to what is very unhealthy fascia. So, okay, so I've chatted about that. So healthy fascia should be pliable, hydrated, have a gushy feeling, flexible, an elastic quality. And unhealthy fascia is more tough, plasticky. It almost feels like cement or brick in the body. It can even have a very hard quality. Okay. So how we activate the fascia, we're going to do like a little exercise here, and we don't need a mat. So I'm just going to lower my camera. So we're going to do a little exercise, and I'm going to mirror you. So I want everyone to extend their left arm. Okay. And make your bicep curl. So we know this curl, right? We know this movement. Right now, our muscle is contracted. This is the strength movement of making a bicep curl contraction, okay? When we hold this contraction and we move in the opposite way to lengthen the muscle with resistance, this is when we grab the fascia. So take your right hand, still making that bicep curl, take your right hand on your left wrist and begin to push that hand away. Feel the resistance though. Keep making the bicep curl and begin to push your arm away. This is us accessing the fascia, okay? And it's hard because the fascia has a lot of resistive force. We're going to do another exercise here to sense the difference in how it feels in the body to strengthen, which most of us have done and know, versus stretching with resistance. Okay, so same arm, bring your left arm in an extended position and your right hand on top of the inside of your wrist. Okay, now try to stop your bicep curl, right? You're trying to, this is your helper hand, target arm is the left arm. I want you to try and stop that bicep curl. You can do it, right? It's really easy to overpower with your helper hand. It can overpower pretty easily. And now make your bicep curl again with full contraction and contract as much as you can. So full contraction, use your helper hand, full contraction, keep resisting, try to push the hand away. Can you push that hand away? It's really hard, right? It's really hard. If you're maximally resisting here with everything you have, you need a couple of people to help push this hand away. That's the strength of the fascia. And the more unhealthy that fascia is, the more resistive force it has. So we have to work through it layer by layer, work through it and keep on top of it. If you're full resistance, you seriously need a couple of people to help move that arm. So that is the strength of the fascia, and that's what we get into. Okay, same exercise. This time we're just going to do a few bicep curls on the left hand. So using the right hand again and press to produce a force as if you're lifting a weight, okay? So we're pretending that our hand is a weight, and we're just going to do a few bicep curls, okay? So we're strengthening this arm, okay? Strengthening. We're going to see how that feels in the body versus doing the other side. Keep resisting as if you're holding like a 10-pound weight and making your bicep curl. So we're trying to get pumped here. We're trying to strengthen and build this bicep like we've done in the gym. Okay, good. And release that. And now we're going to switch arms. So we're going to bring our right arm out, make your contraction, your full contraction, bring the right hand to the inside of the wrist and keep making your contraction, but let up a little bit so that your left hand can overcome. Your left hand is your helper hand here. So resist and then push the hand away. Release, come back to the starting position. Make your bicep curl. Resist and release that resistance just enough to move the arm. Good. You're still working, right? We're still working that muscle, but we're working the muscle in an eccentric contraction. The first time we were doing concentric, we were making the muscle short and strengthening. This is eccentric, and we're stretching the fascia with this movement. Good. Let's do one more. Shake out the arms and just close your eyes. And just notice how both arms feel. Maybe roll your shoulders. Do you notice a difference in the left and right after that short round? So maybe if you notice a difference, just pop in the chat what you notice. I can notice, but I don't want to be the first to say what I notice. Yeah. Anne-Marie's saying longer. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. Longer and more relaxed. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? Lighter. Exactly. Yes, Lori, lighter. Yeah. Arthritic pain is better. We did a few minutes of that. That's it. And we're going to be working into the shoulders, the hamstrings, the legs, the front of the body, the chest, everything. So what I noticed in doing that is this pain point that I get right there, it became a little more obvious to me. It's like, oh, I can feel that now. When we do this fascial work, we give the muscles a chance to work better. And this is the first time that this dense fascia will really have sort of met its match. It's been building up, it's been, complicating, making these problems in our body. And now we challenge it and we can work through it. It's sort of like if you never brushed your teeth, right? Or never went to the dentist, what would be going on in your mouth? So we need to bring more of this into our movement than the other movements that we're doing. Like if you're someone that goes to a gym a lot or does a lot of these strength trainings, you may find that you need more of this to balance out that other work. I'm still feeling like this arm is heavy and feels a little stuck in my shoulder. Yes, we'll be working the neck. Absolutely, Ellie. Yeah. So I just want to make sure I'm covering the notes I want to cover here. Okay. And so in our stretching, you'll notice what we just did is we have a starting position, and our starting position is always when the muscle is shortened, and it's shortened when you can feel it, right? Here we have a long bicep, here our bicep is short. So our starting position will always be with the muscle shortened and engaged. So we shorten the muscle, we engage it, we feel that contraction. The next, it's sort of like, I call it sort of the four fascia rules. We have our short muscle, we resist, and then we move to lengthen the muscle, and then we release. Okay, it's my 4 R's. We have a ready, set position, we resist, we move and lengthen, and then we repeat. Okay, so these are going to be the components of every single class. And we'll be doing them for different areas of the body, different muscle groups. And we will cover 16 muscle groups in some classes, and other classes we're going to do a little less because I'll be focusing on, like, for instance, in spring right now, we're really going to target the muscle meridians and the muscle, the organs themselves associated with spring. Okay, so you'll get the hang of that, the 4 R's, the ready position, resisting to move, you release, and you repeat. Okay, so ready position, resist to move, release it, you release the tension, and then you repeat. That's what we're going to be doing. And you'll get the hang of that with the movements. I'll be cueing a lot during class. It's also how animals stretch in nature. So think about when you wake up, and most of us, the first thing we do when we wake up is we stretch. We do this body stretch. But if you notice when you do a body stretch, there's a certain amount of resistance that you take. You like sort of tense the muscles and then stretch. That's the same idea. And animals, you see them do the same thing. They get on the floor and they don't dump into their joints. There's a resistance that they apply, and then they move. And they do that many times through the day. They don't go to the gym. They do that many times in the day. Yeah. Okay, there's one other thing I really want to show you, and I feel like we have time. So we're going to do this from standing. And I just want you again to get the sense of what we're doing. So come to a standing position. I'm just going to change the camera angle a little bit. And I want to show you how we can impact the hamstrings and what we think flexibility is. Okay, so take your chair and use it for some support here. So just hold your chair with your left hand and lift your right foot and hold your foot and just see. Maybe you can't grab your foot, that's okay. I just want to see where your range of motion is. So here we're contracting the hamstring, we're shortening it. So just see what it feels like to hold the top of your ankle and how it feels in the knee and how it feels in the back of the leg. Okay. And now release the foot. And we're going to do a quick little exercise for the hamstrings. So both feet are together. Step the right foot forward about 6 inches. Soft bend in both knees, so we're not locking the knees. Hold your chair for support. The motion that we're making, this is our ready set position, the first R, okay? The motion that we're making, the next R is resisting to kick the heel back. That's the motion we're trying to make. This is our resistance. Down into the floor and as if we could kick our bum, okay? So we resist. And now we resist to move. We're going to begin to sink our hips back, but keep the resistance. Release, start again. Resist, sink hips back, keep the resistance, release. Kick heel into the floor, feel that resistance. You don't have to go very far. Most of the work happens at the very beginning. Kick heel in. Feel that pressure, the resistance going back. Send hips back, sit into that left knee. Good. Keep it going. And notice I'm not going very far. I'm not coming down like this. Just little movements while resisting. Our muscles shorter here. It's not as short as it can go, but it's shorter here. We resist, we lengthen it. We're catching the fascia along the way. Good. And now on the next time you have your start position, turn that foot out slightly. So turn the right toes out to the right, same movement, kick down. You can put the edge of your foot on the floor if that helps. Kick down, send hips back. Still trying to sweep that foot back. That's what we're trying to do. But we're just using that resistance. Resist, send hips back. Good. Kick foot into the floor, resist, send hips back. Few more times. Not going very far. And when you're resisting and you start to feel you lose that resistance, you stop there and reset. And we resist, stop when you feel the resistance fading, release it, come back to your ready set position. Good. And let's bring our foot back one more time. And this time, send the right foot back. Okay. Right foot's behind this time. Both knees soft bend, still trying to kick that heel back. Right foot's trying to kick back. Your left leg is your stabilizer, and you're also using your chair. And now I'm just going to lift my camera a little bit so you can see, and then I'll put it down. And I won't be doing it in this room. We'll be in a different room and you'll see me better. This time we're just kind of leaning the torso forward while kicking the heel back. Okay, I'll move back a little further. Still kicking heel back. Lean torso down. Release, come back up. Kick heel back. Resist, bend forward. Release, come back up. Good. And let's do 3. Pushing heel back. This is our resistance. We lean forward. So you can feel its work, right? This is not easy, but it's so worthwhile. And you're strengthening and getting a cardio response. It's really like an all-in-one. Good. Shake out that leg. And now we're going to just test again. Okay, so standing on the left foot, lift your right knee. See what it feels like in the back of the leg. Can you hold the foot easier? Is it softer behind the knee? Do you have more flexibility in the muscle? Yeah. Now, foot back down, take a little forward fold. Notice the difference between the left and the right. Do you feel more space behind the knee? Yeah, so I want to see your comments. So what we just did there, when we pulled our foot up to our bum, we were flexing the muscle. We were contracting it just like this. The word flexibility has the word flex in it. The health of our muscles and their flexibility is really their ability to shorten and lengthen. We think about it as only lengthening, right? Our flexibility is only lengthening. I can't touch my toes, or I can't I don't have, that's our range of motion. So what this does, this increases our natural flexibility, the ability of the muscle to contract, to do this. It will also then improve its lengthening. Okay. And I just want to see now. Looser, balance. This is great, right? So this is we did not do a lot on that leg. Margaret, I'm going to check in with you after class and see what's going on there. So it should never be painful. The exercises should never be painful. They should remove pain from the body. They should feel like work, okay? The muscles should feel like they're firing and working, but you shouldn't be feeling pain in the joint. So I want to make sure we distinguish between pain and work, pain and the muscle firing and working. So I'll check in with you after class on that, Margaret. So Connie, no, we were pushing the heel. Connie, again, I'll check in with you as well on that one. So we'll go into those questions after class. Balance is better, looser. You may feel it in the hip area. The hamstrings are the tightest tissue in the lower body, has the most dense fascia. So when we impact the hamstrings, we improve the health of our knees, we improve low back pain. So we're going to be working the hamstrings a lot, and also some dense fascia on the side of the leg. Feeling of more compaction in your left hip after that. Kristen, does that mean a good thing or not? I'm not sure. Leg feels longer, feels good. Yes, Joanne, this will help with arthritic issues. You have to be patient with the development of it. You may notice some changes after the first couple of weeks, but when you keep with it, you'll notice more and more. And then the dietary component helps a lot as well, because there could be some dietary things as well. So Lori, the pressure on your left leg is, when we were doing that, is because, or pressure on your right leg is because we're working the muscle. So you're actually strengthening the muscles. You could see we're getting a little cardio response. You're strengthening the muscles and getting a cardio response and stretching the fascia. So that's why they call it resistance stretching, because you're stretching with resistance. But we are actually stretching, moving, transforming the fascia. Okay, and yeah, all right. So what this does over time, it helps to get our bodies back into a natural alignment. So our natural alignment, our anatomical position, is for the arms to be externally rotated at the shoulders like this, and the thighs more internally rotated. And many of us are like this, myself included, like very much from computer work and cooking, and the legs tend to be externally rotated. And so that then causes a lot of pressure on the pelvis, in the back, and the shoulders, of course, from internal rotation, which pulls on the neck. And so when we work these planes of fascia, it improves the natural alignment. It helps us correct these misalignments in the body. As I mentioned, we gain strength with this work, and it's been said that we can gain 15% more strength than what we can gain through traditional stretching or strengthening, like being at the gym and doing that kind of work. We have better muscle performance. So my youngest is a competitive swimmer, and I have her do some of these before her races because it helps the muscles shorten better. And when the muscles are shorten better, they have more performance, more power, right? And so I want you to think about every movement that we do in the day involves shortening our muscles, right? When we need to pick something up, we're shortening. When we walk, we're shortening muscles. Like all of our power comes from shortening muscles. So we really need to balance it with this work to help with our flexibility, to help with our alignment. And many of us have habitual ways of sitting, working, sleeping even, right? If you think about sleeping for hours on one side with one hip forward of the other, this creates lengthening in one area, shortening in another, and we want to balance that out. And when we do this work, we work in muscle pairs. So we just did the hamstrings. When we do the work, we also work the front of the body, because in order for one muscle to shorten, another has to lengthen. So when we do our bicep curl, this is shortening, the back of the arm is lengthening. So we work in pairs so that the balance muscle group works better. Okay. And let's see what else. So the meridians, I want to talk about the meridians before we go to questions, because I know I gave you a lot of information. I'm trying to condense most of what I've learned in a short amount of time to give you an overview of what we're doing so that we don't go into practice saying, what the heck is this, right? I want you to understand a little of what we're doing. And in time, I'm going to have my site with this information in short videos for you to be able to take in. So as I mentioned, when we're doing these different stretches, we're impacting meridian lines in the body. So again, in Chinese medicine, our energy runs through fascial planes through these meridians. And Chinese medicine goes back thousands of years. And it's a very intelligent system. And some of you may not believe in it or not want to, see it as scientific. So I encourage you to, do a little research into Chinese medicine if you're kind of doubting what that is and its importance in this work. It goes back thousands of years, and they discovered that our energy runs through these lines in our bodies, right? And this is where acupuncture comes from as well. There's points along the meridians that they can needle to help the energy move better through these channels. So our muscle groups work. We can send energy, we can impact the health of our organs through these meridian lines. So in the summer, the organs that are associated with the summer are the liver and the gallbladder. And the liver is our yin organ, the gallbladder is the yang organ. So I just want to show you the meridian lines for the gallbladder to begin. So this is the gallbladder meridian line. It begins on the outer edge of the eye. It comes around the head and kind of crosses in a zigzag form, comes up the skull, down the neck, down the torso in a zigzag fashion, down the outside of the leg, and ends towards the toes, the fourth toe. So when we do our gallbladder stretches, we primarily work this area here on the side of the leg because it is a very accessible, large fascial plane for us to work. When we do work this area, it can affect our neck, because the entire fascial plane runs up the side of the body. So when we impact one area, we can affect another, right? So when I do a lot of gallbladder stretches, I can feel looseness in my neck. And if you have tension headaches on the side of the head, this kind of, this meridian can help if we're doing those stretches. And then the liver meridian, here's the liver meridian. It runs from the big toe, and these little points are acupuncture points or acupressure. So we're just talking about the actual sort of lines and planes of energy. And up the inner line of the leg, comes around the genitals and then comes up to the torso around the nipple line. And so this is the inner leg, the liver, gallbladder, outer leg. So when we do exercises for the gallbladder and liver, we balance. We do the outer side of the leg and then the inner side of the leg. And I'd kind of like to give you guys, does anyone want to do another little demo to notice how it feels? Or are we short on time? Because we can do this one standing. Yes?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so let's come to standing. Okay, it's nice to have them. We'll do more of these tomorrow, and we'll do different ones on the mat and with our props. We'll use blocks tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to come to a standing position, and feet are about hips distance apart. Okay, toes pointing forward. Take a squat. Begin to push your feet out. Imagine you can drive your feet out to each side. Okay, so this is our starting position. We're in a bit of a squat. Tuck the tailbone, bring the ribs up into the body, push feet out, and now begin to stand up with that resistance of pushing the feet out. Stop when you start to fade, reset. Push feet out, begin to stand up. Stop, sink down, push feet out to the side. This is your resistance. Pause at the beginning, feel the resistance, begin to stand up. When you feel the resistance fade, let it go then and reset. Good. So you're noticing perhaps your heart rate is already coming up. Push feet out. So this is targeting the outside of the leg now. Our direction of resistance is going out. And come up. Reset.
And there's different exercises. We can work this meridian line in about 7 or 8 different ways, perhaps more. I've kind of come up with some exercises. There's many different ways we can do it. And so if you don't like this particular exercise, we'll be working them in other ways. Release. Let's do 2 more. Come to your squat, push feet out, feel that resistance. You can even place your hands on the outside of your thighs and reset. Let's do 1 more. Feel the resistance as it fades, stop, release, reset. Good. I think I did 1 extra. Shake out the legs. So this particular exercise and the one we're doing on the inner leg really help the hip girdle. So if you have SI joint issues, really helps. Feet same position, but just begin to turn the toes out slightly. Toes out slightly. Now we're squeezing the legs together, okay? Try to energize through the balls of your feet. Feel the legs squeezing together. This is our start position. Tuck your tailbone. Dip your torso down. Release. I'm going to show from the side. Squeeze the balls of the feet together as if you're squeezing the floor together with your feet. Legs coming in towards each other. Dip the torso. Release. Squeeze feet together through the balls of the feet. Dip torso. Now we're lengthening. Release. Reset. Squeeze at the top. Feel the resistance. Tuck your tailbone a little bit. And then dip your torso down. Release. Let's do 4. Find that resistance at the beginning. Pause for a moment. Notice it. Be with it. Feel the resistance when it starts to die away. Stop. Reset. And we let go of the resistance on the way back to our starting position so we don't get too fatigued. Because if we go with the resistance in both directions, we're really overworking the muscle and we kind of lose that beginning contraction. Last 1. Good. Shake out the legs. So notice how that feels in your legs and your body. This one is a big one for me. It really helps my SI joint area here. And I can feel more space back there just from doing that little round. So if we're really focusing on that area of the body and the SI joint, we would do those and perhaps do a few different versions on the floor as well. My heart rate is up. Anyone else? Yeah. So how did that feel in the lower body for you? Yeah. Okay, great question, Lori. I'm going to answer that. Okay, good. Marla, I'm just catching your note here about your right knee is tight. We're gonna help that. Working the hamstrings is going to help your knee. And if you have knee pain, working our hamstrings will help the knee. So if you don't have a gallbladder, if your gallbladder has been removed, you can still impact the function, the health in the fascial plane. We still have the fascial plane. So what happens when the gallbladder is removed is the liver sometimes picks up some of the function and energy of that organ. The liver and gallbladder sit just under the right rib cage, and the gallbladder is right next to the liver. So the liver will sort of pick up some of that energetic quality. So we can still impact, however, the meridian, the fascial plane. So if you've had that surgery and your gallbladder is removed, this will still work for the actual energetic quality of the meridian. Yes, Lori. Okay, so I'm just checking questions. Low back feels better. Margaret, yeah. So you know what? We did a short round there. And normally when we do lower body, we also do the hamstrings. We also do the quads, the front of the legs. And then you'll start to really notice space opening up
in the knees and in the hips and the low back. And the hamstrings in particular are really important for the low back. Is it normal to feel it in your glutes? Yes, because you're contracting. So Jennifer's asking, is it normal to feel it in your glutes when you're doing this? Yes, because you're contracting this muscle end into the glute, okay, with this motion. So that's normal, but you're strengthening. So what you will find is you may find, especially the first couple of weeks, that you have some muscle soreness. I've been doing this work for like almost a year now. And if I do a very, very intense session, I definitely feel it the next day, but I don't feel pain in the joint. I feel soreness in the muscle. And that's a big difference, right? That's just soreness. And that's coming from strengthening. So you're strengthening your glute, you're strengthening your hamstring while you're doing that movement. Great question, Emily. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Should we be pairing this with particular breathing technique on the tension and release? So you breathe as you need. Okay, it's not like yoga where we follow a particular breathing pattern. Each stretch initiates a slightly different breathing pattern. It's based on the energy of the meridian and the movement, and whether it's yin or yang, and every stretch is either yin or yang. So you just really go with the breath. Sometimes it feels like you're holding your breath, and that's natural. And then you just exhale and get back into it. Oh, good to know. Good to know, Emily. Okay. And yeah, Lori, we're doing cardio as well. So it's almost an all-in-one, guys. It's life-changing, because if you want to build your strength, you're doing it, which is so good for your bones. And for women with aging, this is strengthening. It's like strength training. So you're helping to strengthen your bones. Plus there are specific stretches that benefit your bones, connected with the urinary bladder. Paulette, it's really up to you how many times a week. I do a little bit every morning, but I modify based on how sore I am from the day before, what I feel I need. Like sometimes I feel something come up in my neck or my sacrum, because those are my two sort of areas that come back. And I connect that to daily living, to how I sleep, right? To patterns, to chopping in the kitchen, all of these things. So I do usually about 20 minutes in the morning. Our sessions are going to be about 45 minutes, but that's because I'm cueing you. And so I will also be adding some shorter versions in the playlist for us all to do more practice. Okay, so I have covered most of what I want to cover today, but I imagine there are some questions. So if you want to add more questions to the chat, do so. If you want to come off of mute and ask a question, go ahead and do so. I want to make sure we're feeling, excited going into tomorrow's class.
Rena, one question in terms of the classes ongoing. Will this be the same login? I had sent you a couple of questions. I wasn't sure where to go even to get in today.
Okay.
Will you be sending out different Zoom
Link?
URLs, or is it the same one all the time?
Great. Yeah, thanks, Barbara. It's the same link every time.
Good.
So I've created it so that it's the same Zoom link through. But what I do is every morning of our class, I resend the confirmation email.
Cool. Thank you.
Just so it's fresh in your inbox. Because I know myself, when I do Zoom classes, I'm looking for that link in my inbox. So before class, I just send it mass to everyone again so that you have it at the top of your inbox, and then you can just click through. Yeah. Now, there were a couple of questions earlier, and I just want to see, okay, the Facebook group, I'm going to pop that in the chat now. And in the Facebook group, I just generally it's for discussion, for ideas, for, connecting with one another, because we've had a really lovely little community created through the winter class. People have gotten to know each other. So please feel free to, chat and get to know each other and share experiences, because it's so helpful to do that. There's our Facebook group, guys. If you're not, oops, that went direct message. So I will also add that to everyone. If you're not there yet. And yeah, it's nice. And but then I'll also post the replays, which I email out anyways, but for those not, I send it out to email for those who aren't in the Facebook group, but I will double post everything in the Facebook as well. Okay, and then, okay, so I had a couple of questions, someone feeling some pain. Okay, so if you want to ask, Margaret, if you don't and you want to ask later, you can do that. But if you felt some pain and you want to ask, then definitely hop on and let me know.
Sure, it's definitely muscle, not joint, but it's also the shoulder has old nasty injury and was frozen for a while, and I've got it moving again.
Yep.
But it's been babied and protected for so long
Yep.
that I as we were doing the tricep one on the right side, I could feel along the upper arm, it just burned.
Okay. Yeah. And so it sounds like it's just the muscle, because that was the side we were doing the proper stretching on. So you're
Right.
engaging the muscle, but we will be doing shoulder work for sure. And if you're feeling pain here, we're going to work the back of the shoulder. That will help free up pain here. You said it was an injury?
It's so there's both shoulders are terrible, but there's multiple old injuries, and then at one point one of them fully froze. I couldn't even fasten the back of my bra until I worked through it with a whole bunch of stretching on my own. And so I think it's just
There's stuff in there.
there's stuff in there, but that's on top of the injury just from it just being so contracted for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. So if at any time we're doing movements and it feels painful, like you feel it in the joint, stop and let me know. Soreness and activation of the muscle is normal. Pain, this should be removing pain, not adding to pain. And so sometimes if you have an area that's very, very painful at the beginning and we're working, so say for instance, we are doing a stretch for the front of the body here. And if I have a lot of pain here and I'm doing this stretch where we're activating this muscle and lengthening, and I'm feeling a lot of pain there, what we can do is first go to the balancing muscle group, which is the back of the arm here, do some stretches there. Because what happens is if this is really overworked and we're trying to work it out with the fascial stretching, this is not contracting well in order for us to move. So if we first stretch here and this contracts better, then we get more movement here. So if you're having pain, let me know, and then I'll give you the balancing set to do, and then you can come back to that one. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really excited for you because I believe you'll notice difference. I just, you're going to feel some difference. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I know I've become a little bit of a fascia geek, and I get very excited talking about it. Some of my returning people know that, and smiling, she knows. So, it's, there is one other thing I wanted to show you. And this comes from a book called Anatomy Trains, which is all about fascia. It's very, very heavy information. So not necessarily a book you need to run out and get. If you're a little squeamish of anatomy pictures, then maybe you don't want to see this. It's not bad, but I was looking at it last night and my daughter was like, Mom, this is gross, don't. And I'm like, it's your body.
Not squeamish at all.
She's 13. So this is an image, very, very magnified, of muscle fibers. These are your muscle fibers, and this is fascia in between. So if you imagine all of your muscles and how many muscle fibers we have and how integrated this is, it's not just a sheath, right? People tend to equate it to like a sheath of, like for any of us who have done cooked chicken. I've got to give that example, sorry. That when you, the skin and then that layer between, people tend to think of fascia in that way. It's not just that underlying sheath or layer. It's not just like skin, fascia, muscle. It doesn't work that way. It's integrated right into the muscle fibers. So that's, pretty powerful when you think that it's that embedded. And if it's dense and it's not moving, then the muscle's not moving well. The muscle's just not working well. Yeah.
Can it feel like scar tissue almost
Yes.
in the muscle? Yeah,
Yes.
because that's almost what it feels like. Yeah.
Yeah. Scar tissue is very unhealthy fascia. It's very accumulated and has become so accumulated that it's just like stuck, right? So there's different degrees of unhealthy fascia, and scar tissue is really, really, really stuck fascia.
I think, Margaret, you will be excited to notice what it does for your shoulder, because I have a bad shoulder and I haven't put this into my daily practice, which I'm going to. That's why I signed up for the next session again, to make it a regular habit. But I could have a sore shoulder, and right after the exercises, I go, I can't believe I'm not uncomfortable anymore. Like, it was immediate.
Wow.
And then it's ongoing, but it's because I'm not making it a regular practice. But you'll be really surprised. It's really neat. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Excited. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate that you shared that, because we do have returning members who've had good experiences, and that's why they're back, right? They want to keep feeling this way. So thank you for sharing that. And we do have to return to it, because every day, we're doing activities and movements and habits and patterns that bring the fascia back in ways, right? I mean, we have years and years of built up fascia, so we're working through layers. Yeah. Oh, the name of the book, Shelley, is Anatomy Trains. And thank you, Anne-Marie, for mentioning. Yeah, it's a big book, and it's very, it's a heavy kind of read, right? It's not like a fun, easy read, but it's kind of fun for me. Okay, and Connie's mentioning about her shoulder. Yeah, and so the other thing is, I'll mention, Connie, is if you do chiropractic, acupuncture, prolotherapy, any treatments, I'm not just saying that you don't need to go out and do those if you don't want. If you want to do them, absolutely continue. But this will assist. This will help those treatments hold longer and have better impact. So I don't do a lot of acupuncture, but I know from other people who've done this training and done this work that when they go to get acupuncture and they've been doing their fascial stretches, that the acupuncturist will say, wow, like there's a lot of, this is really significant. I'm really noticing that, the energy is like moving, and the acupuncture works better for them. So the same thing goes if you're doing chiropractic or prolotherapy, getting injections, this helps those things work better and hold longer. Yeah, I used to do chiropractic every week or two as well. And I went a couple of months ago. I just don't feel I need to go as much. It's not like I won't ever go again, or I won't ever get prolotherapy again. I just don't feel I need to as much, or need to right now. Yeah. All right. Any other questions, guys? Anything else that we want? Oh, the recordings, Julie, will be there. Right now, there'll be a YouTube playlist. It's an unlisted playlist, so it will only be for you guys. And then I send you the video link every week, and also the link to the whole playlist, so that you can access the videos. Eventually, I will have a site and have everything on a site, but right now that's going to be a YouTube playlist, so easy for you to access. And then Sharon, stream to TV. So if you use the recordings, you can absolutely then stream from your recording to the TV if you want to do that. I'm not sure if you can do that from Zoom. Perhaps you can. I think you probably can. If you use your laptop, you could stream from your laptop to, if you do the AirPlay from your laptop to the TV, you should be able to do that.
Yes, absolutely. I can talk to you after, Connie. Yeah, okay. Anybody else want to ask a question or note anything? No? All right. Yay. So we'll get going tomorrow. I'm very excited to move with you all. And tomorrow we're going to focus quite a bit on the 2 stretches or those meridians that we just did at the end for the liver and gallbladder, but we're also going to get into the shoulders because I know a lot of you want to hit the shoulders and the neck as well. So we'll get into that as well. So very exciting. So tomorrow again at 9:30, I'll be in a different room. You'll see me full screen. I won't be moving the camera. And the other thing I want to mention is I do check in on people during class so that I can help you with your form. So if you want to be on camera, make sure that I can see your form, right? So make sure that your view, when you see yourself in your camera, that your whole body is there so I can see you. And if you don't want to be on camera, that's fine. But I do pause between certain exercises and just hop up to the screen and have a look and make sure that, you know, perhaps I can give you a tip to get a better position in the movement. Okay. All right. So that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9:30 and we'll move and groove and have some fun. Yeah. Okay. See you guys. And anyone wants to hang back and ask a specific question, I'll stay for a couple of minutes.
Thanks, Trina.
You're
Thank
welcome,
you.
Rita. Good to see you.
Bye. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye, everyone.